footage. When an earthquake takes place, you know what to do because it's over and you regroup and you reorganize. In a situation like this, you don't know what's going to happen hour to hour, day to day.
The NHRA family has come together for the first time since September 11th. They've shared their grief and together have resolved not to let terrorism rule their lives, not just for themselves, but for future generations as well.
God bless those that lost their lives, and the fact, the firemen, the people, the police that went in there from New York City, the people that are there now, that are trying to find these folks that are buried and to count the losses or possibilities save more lives. The tragedy of this is horrible, but we have to move on.
ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports, presents the National Hot Rod Association. It's the 50th anniversary of this truly American tradition. And while our thoughts and prayers are with the families and victims of last week's tragedy, we take our first step towards putting life back on the track. Today, from Memphis Motorsports Park in Memphis, Tennessee, it's the 14th running of the AutoZone Nationals. And hello again, everybody. I'm Marty Reed, and please believe me when I tell you that all of us involved in this broadcast fully realize that our role pales in comparison to what the firefighters, the policemen, the rescue workers are doing in Washington and, of course, in New York City. But we have found that sports has been therapeutic. It's been a diversion. And for the next 3.5 hours, we'll do our best in that area. And with that in mind, I bring in my partner, former Winston Funny Car champion, Cruz Pedregon. And Cruz, I guess the hardest thing right now is everybody's focus. Where is it going?
Well, it's going in the right direction, and it should. You know, a lot of these teams, had a lot of time off, and we're all saddened by this. But, you know, it's their job. A lot of these teams, most of the teams provide for their families, a crew, and everybody shares. And so it's like coming back to work, and for a sense of normalcy, that's what we need. The fans are coming out to enjoy some racing, like you say, for some therapy. So it's all a good thing. We're all looking forward to it.
Everybody trying to get back into step, and we take our first step down on the track. As you can hear behind us, the sounds of nitromethane coming to life. 6,000 horsepower, and our first pair on the screen will be Brady Calavoda making his second ever Top Fuel attempt to qualify, and Jerry Freeman. Calavoda in the left lane, Jerry Freeman over in the right lane. As you take a look at Calavoda, he did not make an attempt yesterday. He qualified 13th back in Seattle, but it was a short-lived experience. He went out in the first round. And for Jerry Freeman from Newmarket, Alabama, well, this is his first attempt at qualifying in 2001 on the NHRA circuit.
Looking at Jerry here, he was actually one of my first hired crew members on my funny car team back at Bristol a couple of years ago, and he's a kid that's worked with Ronnie Swearingen through the years on for the Fruit of the Loom car, believe it or not. He was on the crew there, so you know we've had some short fields this year, and we've had some cars that have not made the field, so they're looking to get in the field here. And I was talking to Brady Calavoda here. He basically taken over for John Smith. John had the mishap there with Selfie back at Brainerd, so the Hartman family called him up and asked him to be the driver for this car for this weekend.
Well, both cars have trouble with traction, light the tires, and will not make it any better down the track. In fact, Calavoda not in the field right now. Jerry Freeman will stay in the number 15 spot. Now, let's get caught up on what's really happening in Top Fuel. Of course, we're talking about a points championship. First up, Bill Stevens. Bill?
As everybody expected, the two-car Top Fuel rivalry has intensified here in Memphis between Larry Dixon Jr. and Kenny Bernstein. Yesterday in the first session of qualifying, Bernstein #1 with a 460 when the session ended. Then, last night, under the lights here in Memphis, Larry Dixon came back, and despite dropping a cylinder 3 seconds into the run and tossing a blower belt just before the finish line, he goes 458 at 309 to steal the provisional pole. Now, recent history is on the side of Larry Dixon. For the first time in his career, he could be winning 3 national events in a row. However, for Kenny Bernstein, just the converse is true, and Dave Reef has more on that.
Bill, the other star in this chase, gave up the Winston points lead when Luigi Novelli punched him out in round 1 in Brainerd. He then lost to Larry Dixon in the semifinals at the U.S. Nationals to get even further behind. To get back up into this chase, though, Memphis has been a very tough place for Kenny Bernstein. His best finish came in 1998 in a runner-up spot. And in 1999, he crashed. Let's not forget, Larry Dixon was the runner-up last year, also crashing. So as both drivers try to get down this Winston Top Fuel points race, they both have big crosses to bear this weekend in Memphis.
Thanks, guys. Let's take a look at the leaderboard coming into this third round of qualifying. Larry Dixon at that 4:58. Doug Herbert with a good run last night. Kenny Bernstein back-to-back 460s. Gary Scelzi, Mike Dunn, Darrell Russell, Tony Schumacher, and Rhonda Hartman rounds out the top half of the field. Then it's Scott Weiss all the way down through to Andrew Cowan. And probably the biggest surprise is Doug Coletta in that number 10 spot at 475. So as we get ready for our next pair coming up on the line, we've got Don Sasenka over in the left lane. He's outside looking in. And the Mr. Magoo machine. As he'll be up against Luigi Novelli. Luigi in that number 13 spot after running a 5:17 yesterday.
There's a couple of cars here that are just trying to make the lower half of the field. I'm sure they'd like to make it up a little bit better, but you're not going to see these cars run in the 460s here. These are cars that are going to be filling in the field, so to speak, and they're just what they want to do as competitors, just try to make it down the track, not oil the track down, hopefully, and not smoke the tires to try to get some kind of a representative run.
Well, for Senka, he is in his 7th event this year. His best was qualifying effort with Sonoma out of the 14th spot. For Novelli, it's his 8th event. He was 11th on the ladder at Englishtown. Big troubles for Novelli. And neither car does very well. A 572 and a 575. And so no real help. I mean, Sasenka and Novelli, they'll be 13th and 14th. Let's go and take a look in super slow-mo.
Well, Luigi Novelli is going to have a cylinder out right there. This car that engine is sick. It's shaking the tires. It's doing everything you could possibly do wrong. The problem with this is he's keeping his foot in it and creating more damage. There you go. Looks like it's torching ahead there, and it finally just gave up on him. And that's a bad way to start the session.
So we're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, as you see Doug Coletta getting ready, we'll have a chance to have a chat with Larry Dixon, the man leading the points in Top Fuel. Stay with us.
Every day, AmeriDebt helps more people with money problems. People like Tom Baker.
My credit card debt was outrageous. Then I called AmeriDebt. They contacted my creditors and got my payments almost cut in half. Now I have only one small monthly bill.
AmeriDebt is a nonprofit organization that offers free consultations to consumers seeking to eliminate their debt. People like the Shaws.
Every month I pay our credit card bills, but the balances never seem to get smaller.
AmeriDebt got our interest rates reduced, and now the balances are dropping dramatically.
And what's even more amazing is our payments are less than before.
Just call this number, and regardless of your credit, in minutes you can join the thousands of people who have turned their financial lives around. People like Maria Rinaldi.
Before I called AmeriDebt, the creditors were calling every day. I thought bankruptcy was the only way out. Now I'm debt-free, and my credit rating has been restored.
All right, boys, last card.
I'm gonna raise you $1.
You must have something, boys.
Just $1. Hey, don't you know about 10-10-220? What?
Yeah, man, 10-10-220. All calls up to 20 minutes. 99 cents.
Just 7 cents a minute after that.
All calls up to 20 minutes for only 99 cents?
See, $1 is worth a lot.
I'm out.
Me too. I call you.
Read 'em and wait, boys.
Dial 10-10-220.
How do you like it now? How do you like it?
Hi, I won the Castrol Ultimate NFL Fan Experience.
Go home!
What's up, my man? I got tickets to every away game of my favorite NFL team, plus airfare and hotel. Get lost! Thanks, Castrol.
Today's ESPN Speed World event, qualifying for the AutoZone Nationals, is being brought to you by Corona. Relax and enjoy a Corona. By Sports Center. Which Sports Center do you watch? And by Subaru. Visit us at Subaru.com to see our full line of all-wheel drive vehicles. And back here at Memphis Motorsports Park at the AutoZone NHRA Nationals, not only is Larry Dixon the current leader in top fuel points, but of course he's now the 2001 U.S. Nationals top fuel champion. And yesterday, Dave Reef sat down with Larry and asked him about what the team did differently from last year to prep for a championship run this year.
You know, it was kind of a combination of things. You know, the biggest thing for us, I think, was learning, not even on my end, but on Dick LaHaye's end. You know, learning the 90% rule and how to tune the car in that particular way. The ways that he tuned the car in the past wasn't as successful, so we had to find a new way. And there was some things we wanted to incorporate. But here, you know, you're in third place coming towards the end of the season. There's some things that you want to bring on board of the car. But if you step backwards, you might end up fourth or fifth, so you don't want to do that. But if you're able to bring them in, maybe you can move up to first or second. Well, all we did was kind of just hold our ground till the end of the year. Got these new pieces on board, you know, and it's more all engine parts that we worked on and tested great this winter. And we came out of the box fairly good, you know, and then, you know, that first win was at Gainesville.
How tough has it been for you to kind of keep things in check? Because you never want to get too high, and you certainly don't want to get too low. But you have seemed to keep a very even keel throughout this entire season.
I've had a lot of fun this year. You know, I've never, the most I've ever won is 4 events in a season, and so far we've won 5. And winning Indianapolis again was great. You know, we bought a motorhome in the middle of the year, and got my family with me all the time. Got my son, he's going on 10 months old, and that's been fun, you know. I mean, it isn't like like when I go at home, it isn't like I don't have a family at home, you know, and you're caught up reading newspapers and gets your mind wander. You know, you got a 10-month-old kid, that keeps you plenty busy, so you don't got a whole lot of time to do anything except try to take care of him and just have family life. You know, it's been really good. Been living in Indianapolis now a couple of years now, and it's been nice because you go even when we're running back-to-back in the middle of the year, you know, we're able to go home in between, drive our motorhome home, and then we're home for a couple of days before we go to the next race, and it keeps me grounded, and I just feel blessed.
Snake's been a championship driver. We've documented it many, many times, and I'm sure he's shared a boatload of information with you over the years. Has he said anything recently?
No, he's. They hadn't done a whole lot to say lately. You know, we've just kind of maintained our course. You know, we've got a good game plan when we've been going into races, and it's been executed pretty well, you know, so far. But he doesn't have to say a whole lot. I mean, I started working for him in 1988, you know, and I got 2 seasons with him on the funny cars, and you're getting schooled without even knowing. I mean, I had no idea in 1988 I'd be driving his car in 95, you know, but you see how he conducts himself and how he prepares for a round or a race, and I mean, you'd have to be a fool to not have that stuff rub off on you.
In 1994, during Snake's final strike tour, it seems like the only difference that kept him from getting that championship, and the reason that you're in that championship, you know it.
You know, we had a great season in 1994, you know, won a lot of races, and Snake's final year, you know, he went out, you know, number 2 to Scott Coletta, and Dick LaHaye was tuning his car. So, you know, here we are, you know, Kenny's going out, you know, he's got, you know, a 2-year retirement tour. So, you know, but here's Dick LaHaye, you know, putting a little bit of a thorn in their side. You know, it's gonna come down to a beer car. It's just a matter of, you know, which one gets it.
And that battle is still hot and heavy as we get ready for our next pair. We've also got a chance, as you see, Funny Car getting into the lanes, and Nitro heartfully respects America. Thanks, guys. We appreciate all the good thoughts. Back in the pit area, Warren Johnson is standing by, and Warren, we just had a glimpse in 3rd round. Mr. Yates has really thrown down the gauntlet, so to speak.
Well, he's done an excellent job. He hired Ricky Smith to kind of oversee his program, and he's got basically 2 crew chiefs over there. They seem to have picked up the pace a little bit, but that's not to say that everybody else can't do the same. He's made 2 good runs in the left-hand lane. His run in the right-hand lane was 400 slower, so there's a discrepancy between the lanes slightly for the suspended cars, but at the same time, you know, that can be evened out with a little bit of work by NHRA's track crew, and I think that'll probably be attended to.
You mentioned to me earlier today, you felt between the 250-foot mark and the 8th mile at basically half track, that's where it was roughest in that right lane.
There's a series of bumps in the right-hand lane that really upsets the suspended cars. The cars with no suspension, dragsters, funny cars, the Federal Mogul cars really don't experience the problems with that lane that we do with the suspended cars. We can work on the suspension, try fine-tune it for that lane, but at the same time, then we'd have to change it back for the left-hand lane. So lane choice is going to probably be critical on race day here.
I have to ask you, do you ever focus on racing the points championship? I mean, with an 80-point lead, do you worry about just going rounds, or is it still always, I want to win the race?
Well, yeah, obviously for our team, we want to win the race, but first and foremost, we have to win the rounds before you can win the race. So it's they both go hand in hand. So we look at it from the standpoint that if we win the rounds, then we've got the opportunity to win the race.
Thanks for taking the time to us. I know you got to get back to it because 4th round's coming up, and we'll see you then.
Okay, Marty.
And back out on the track, coming to life, 6,000 horsepower. Andrew Cowan's going to be on a single run. Rhonda Hartman-Smith. Rhonda was scheduled to be over in the left lane on this one, but she has decided to take a pass on 3rd round of qualifying. She's solidly in the show right now. For Andrew, he's outside looking in. He has not made it down the track in 2 prior efforts.
Yeah, they've been smoking the tires and shaking the tires and all kinds of good stuff going on. But this is a good car. It has first-class equipment on it. Graham Cowan, a car owner and the father of the driver, Andrew, that's sitting in the cockpit there, gets a little consulting from Bruce Sarver's crew chief, Richard Hogan. So, you know, there's a lot of knowledge that goes on with these cars, but these cars are very temperamental. The sunshine, to the credit of Memphis Motorsports Park here, has not really affected it. So Andrew has a good shot at making it in the field.
Well, then Andrew had to take a few events off. Remember, he was with us early in the season, but he had to take some time off. He and his father went back to take care of business in Australia. But before he left, I mean, he's had some good qualifying runs. He was number 3 at Pomona. And, I mean, he has put this car in the show strong, so he's capable of it.
Yeah, you remember in the final round at the Las Vegas event, he gave Kenny Bernstein all he could handle there. So like I said, it's a definite capable car here. And I look to see this car make it down the racetrack and run some kind of a low 470, maybe even a high 460.
Near the end, but he does manage a 472. It'll move him into the number 8 spot at 303 miles an hour. So Andrew Cowan is solidly in the field, bumps on Rhonda Hartman down to the number 9 position. So as we take a look in super slow-mo at Andrew Cowan, lights all 8 cylinders, lifts the front wheels off the ground, and heads streaking down the quarter mile at Memphis Motorsports Park. We've got to take a commercial break. Stay with us when we come back. A lot more 3rd round qualifying action. That's right. We've still got 4th round to go. We'll be back right after this.
Who'd you expect? Bob Dole?
Follow Mark Martin and the Viagra racing team this season.
Get to your doctor for a checkup and find out if a free sample of Viagra is right for you.
And for more information right now, race over to Viagra.com.
What Bridgestone learns on the track, we put into our tires. Like the Dueler. Engineered to distinctly boost your confidence, on-road or off. The distinction is Bridgestone. Receive a free pair of Olympus Trooper binoculars when you purchase 4 select Bridgestone Dueler tires. Certain conditions apply.
At 160 miles an hour, your heart rate triples. At 200 miles an hour, your muscles strain and distend. At 230 miles an hour, it's not uncommon for headaches to begin. just what the crew is going through.
Hey, you're clear, you're clear.
Will we win? Hopefully. Will we lose? Maybe. Will we learn? Definitely.
Along with Chris Pedregon, Bill Stevens, Dave Reef, I'm Marty Reed at the AutoZone NHRA Nationals here in Memphis, Tennessee. And Darrell Russell and Doug Coletta next up in the qualifying order. Darrell over in the left lane, Doug in the right lane. Dave Reef.
Let's send out a very big thank you to Connie Coletta, the car owner for Doug Coletta. You go back all the way to Desert Storm in the Gulf War, his air cargo company, Coletta Air, was very instrumental. In fact, they were the second largest outside government contractor helping this country shipping supplies overseas. Well, once again, the world slowed on September 11th. Connie Coletta did not. He donated his time shipping medical supplies from LAX all the way out to New York. He was one of the only planes in the sky. This guy is absolutely a 100% patriotic American.
Connie Coletta, and you're right, Dave, and he's done it all very quietly. Doesn't say anything to anybody. Just says, this is what we're going to do, guys. Load them up, take them off. Darrell Russell in that left lane in number 6 qualifying spot right now at 467. Coletta in the number 11 spot at a 475. Forget about that number 11 spot. Move him up to number 7 with a 468. Darrell Russell, as he runs a 475 at 306, is going to stay in his number 6 position. So Doug steps the program up here in the third round of action. Dave Reef.
Marty, as we talked about, it was a time of great need, and Connie Coletta, you responded. What does it mean for you personally to get involved and help out when you can?
Well, it's very gratifying, and you know that you can take and contribute to it, and help a lot of people that have got devastation in their lives right now.
Stop by this man's shop. He's got a picture with President Bush from the Gulf War. It's one of the only times I've ever seen Connie Coletta with a tie.
Yeah, you won't see Conrad dressed up to the nines too often, but I think the president would qualify for all of us to put on a coat and tie. There's Mike Dunn, our next pair. He's the number 5 qualifier right now at a 462. And there's Team Winston's Gary Scelzi in the number 4 spot at a 460. And this car has been running real well. 2 good runs.
Yeah, both cars are solidly in the field, Marty, here. And, you know, if you're looking at the conditions right now, a lot of these right now is about the time we'll be running first round here. So these guys are looking for not really to step up, but to try to make another solid run down the track.
Yeah, that's why that 468 by Doug Coletta is so important, because this is first round. And as Mike Dunn completes his burnout, we'll go to Bill Stevens.
You know, guys, the Top Fuel Championship race really is between a couple of guys we've been talking about, Kenny Bernstein and Larry Dixon, but the battle for 3rd place is still very much alive. In fact, right now between 3rd place and 6th place in the Winston standings, only 61 points separating Scelzi and Dunn and Coletta and Darrell Russell. So they want to qualify well, qualify top half, get lane choice for the first round tomorrow, and maybe go some rounds and take a shot at 3rd place. Of course, Scelzi wants to defend his 3rd place standing. Let's go to Dave Reed.
To take that one step further, just talk to Alan Johnson. Without saying the words, you can see they're actually taking a little different approach this weekend, kind of moving into what he calls test mode, looking ahead, not just to the year 2002, but to that one very big race that has a very big paycheck at the end of the year, the Budweiser Shootout in Pomona.
Well, don't forget, this team is still looking for a new sponsor for next year, as Winston will be going away at the end of 2001, so they obviously want to perform in that area as well.
There's absolutely a lot to race for, and each race is very prestigious to win. You just, you know, points enter into it, but then, you know, you want to win the individual race. It's very important they win this weekend.
Well, both cars go up in smoke, Dunn right off the line, and Scelzi at about half track. So nobody gets any answers there, except if they do it tomorrow at this time, they're going home.
Yeah, that'll give you that data. You know, both cars will learn something, go back, and they'll know what not to do.
So as they coast on out, we're going to take a commercial break as we take a look at some of the sights and the sounds of what has happened around the racetrack this year, as well wishes to everyone from all of us to those in New York and in Washington. And of course, all those banners that have been signed will be sent off to those affected areas with all those warm thoughts. Stay with us. We're coming back.
In supporting the NASCAR Weekly Racing Series, True Value is helping young NASCAR drivers become the champions of tomorrow. A little something to think about the next time you're in True Value. True Value. Help is just around the corner.
Now this same feeling is available in a car.
Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Introducing the all-new Mazda Protege 5.
Yeah, zoom, 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 zoom. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Same feeling. Zoom, zoom. New form.
Hi, Tom Bodette. When did you see the light?
Oh, going over to Phoenix. We wanted to rest up for the game, and suddenly it was so clear. Motel 6. I think it's great.
Well, you gotta call them like you see them. Call us and see the light for yourself.
He's a field goal kicker. What's so amazing about a field goal?
It's 63 yards under pressure.
Pressure?
Look, I got $40. It says none of y'all can hit from half that distance.
You got it.
Guys, leave your...
Don't forget to join us tomorrow. 3 more hours of elimination round coverage from here in Memphis. Early round coverage at 2 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2. And then the finals at 8:30 Eastern time, again on ESPN2. All from Memphis, Tennessee. For more, log on to ESPN.com. So as we get ready, maybe the engines. Did these guys get the cue or what? Right on schedule. Doug Herbert brings his Snap-on Tools top fueler to life. There's Larry Frazier, the crew chief. He will be in the right-hand lane. And then over in the left-hand lane will be Tony Schumacher. And a very emotional moment yesterday for the team, and that Army dragster came out for the first run. First run since last year's horrendous crash. Take a look at what happened for Tony Schumacher at last year's AutoZone Nationals. As the car on the left side of your screen, the wing comes off, and horrific crash, and everybody thought that the worst had happened to Tony Schumacher, but the cockpit area stayed intact, and Tony would come back to race another day. Now you notice that tree that was there? That tree has since been removed. They hated doing it, but for safety reasons, it is now gone. There you can see on the left-hand side where that field is, that's where the tree used to be. I asked Tony this morning, I said, did you have any second thoughts about getting in the car yesterday? Because there were some tears down the starting line when he came back. He says, no, my hardest race was the first time back cruise when I went to Houston, the very first time out.
Yeah, I can believe that, because as a driver, you're looking down the quarter mile, and when you're in that car strapped in there, you don't know whether it's Pomona or Englishtown, New Jersey, man. You're just focused, because that's what you have to do as a driver.
Right now, Doug Herbert in the number 2 qualifying position at a 4:59. Schumacher in the number 8 spot with a 4:70. Tony goes up in smoke, or I should say Doug Herbert goes up in smoke right off the line, and then Tony Schumacher about half track loses his power. And let's go back on board and see exactly what happened.
Well, Tony's car's going to looking good here, but he gets a little out of the groove there, moves over to the right. That may have caused that car, Army car, to lose traction and spin those tires, and Tony feels that as a driver and shuts it off.
So we're going to take a commercial break as the work continues back in the pit areas. That's the Montana Express of David Grubniks here at Memphis Motorsports Park at the AutoZone Nationals.
Gave it the power of 227 horses. We gave it the control of all-wheel drive. But the spirit of a 3-time World Rally champion, that it had to earn. Meet the turbocharged rally-bred Subaru WRX. That's the beauty of Subaru all-wheel drive.
Don't forget that we've got events coming your way next week. We're going back to Joliet for the inaugural NHRA Nationals, and then the postponed Reading, Pennsylvania event, the Keystone Nationals, October 4th through the 7th, and then Ennis, Texas, get ready because the O'Reilly Fall Nationals, the weekend of October 18th through the 21st, and we hope to see everybody there. So as we get ready to light those candles and get ready for the next pair, it will be Larry Dixon, your #1 qualifier and points leader at a 4:58 so far. There is Dick LaHaye, and there's #2 in the points, Kenny Bernstein, third in the qualifying order right now. He has run back-to-back 460s.
Well, the score here this weekend, if you're keeping score of the qualifying win-loss record of the Budweiser car and the Miller car, it's 1-1. They had a race the first time. The first run yesterday was won by Kenny Bernstein. Last night, it was won by Larry Dixon.
Kenny Bernstein's been the #1 qualifier 8 times in 2001, 60 in his career. And for Larry Dixon, well, he's looking for his second pole of 2001. Now let's go back to last year because it was also a very rough day at the office for the Miller Lite dragster driver Larry Dixon. Again in the right lane. Watch what happens as the car just buckles in half.
That's Larry. I can't imagine what he's thinking. I've done wheel stands before, Marty. You just see clear blue sky. You have no idea where you are. But to his credit and the credit of the race car, held together, and Larry walked away with some minor injuries, but he walked away nonetheless.
And again, he said basically the same thing Tony did. He said, you know, coming back here, my thoughts aren't on that, and obviously his performance so far has lived up to it. It's amazing the focus that these guys can get when they strap behind that wheel.
What I like about the Kenny Bernstein car and the Larry Dixon car is they're racing these cars. All the races have been side by side, no tire smoke. But for the Budweiser King, these are race day conditions. It's going to be hot, and the strength has been on Larry Dixon's car to run good when it's warm out. So I'm going to look to see if Kenny Bernstein can match Dixon on the conditions the way they are right now.
Well, both of them go up in smoke, and I'm a little bit surprised.
Yeah, just as I was talking about how they were making it down the track most of the time. But hey, you know, guys are pushing the button here. Both crew chiefs are trying to get after it. And when you're in a championship points chase like this, you want to push. This is pure raw horsepower here. There's nothing to be said other than they had it loaded up a little too hard. But what this does tell me that they will go back and make sure that they will not do that again for fear that if you do that on race day, you're out of here.
And remember, it's valuable points based on where you are in qualifying. So take a look at the leaderboard right now. Larry Dixon would pick up the 8 points for first place on down through Tony Schumacher in the number 8 spot. And then positions 9 through 16, it starts with Andrew Cowan and ends with Rob Passy at a 577. And of course, later today, we're going to have round 4 of Top Fuel qualifying. Who stays in, who takes the pole, and who goes home. And Funny Car is coming up next. That's Frank Pedregon's flopper here at the AutoZone Nationals. And yes, we remember.
Before you choose a security company, consider this. Only ADT protects your home and family with 3 solid guarantees. It's the ADT Fire Protection Package. If you move, we'll install a system in your new home free of charge. If you're not happy with your system, ADT will refund the installation cost and monitoring fees. We'll even save you up to 20% on your basic homeowner's insurance. It's the most comprehensive guarantee package around. And it's only offered by the nation's leader, ADT, the company with the most advanced home monitoring technology. Call now and get an ADT security system installed from $99. Plus the peace of mind of the ADT Fire Protection Package. Get the power of ADT. Why would you choose anything less?
America welcomes back the NFL on ESPN Sunday Night Football. This week, the Broncos head to Arizona for the Cardinals season opener. Brian Greasy leads Denver's stampeding offense along with Rod Smith.
He makes the catch for the touchdown.
And star running back Mike Anderson. But the Cardinals hope for an upset behind Jake the Snake Plummer, who looks to rattle the Bronco defense. Broncos Cardinals, 8:30 Sunday on ESPN. It all starts with NFL primetime at 7:30.
Back here at Memphis Motorsports Park at the AutoZone NHRA Nationals. Let's put a period on Top Fuel. Bill Stevens.
Well, Kenny, I guess if Tim Richards was trying to find out what the track would take, he got his answer, didn't he?
He certainly did, and that's what you have to do. The sun's out, it's hot here now, and the track temperature's way up there. It spun the tires the minute I hit the throttle, and it was kind of doing a fishtail out there, and I go, it isn't going to make it. And about that time, it blew them off. But, you know, hey, we'll go back this afternoon with the Bud King, see if we can do it again.
And it didn't bother you to see the tires get blown off the blue car either.
That's the real important fact, because they've been awful good on these kind of tracks, so I'm glad to know they're human.
And the blower belt goes on Frank Pedregon's car. He was on a single run, and a 5:04 that he had run earlier is going to keep him in that position that he came into the field at number 9. There is the blower belt. Dave?
Well, Del, we just saw your teammate go down there, puff the tires a little bit, lose a blower belt. What kind of changes can you make to this car as you're back in the line here still?
He was already in the shows. His car is more aggressive than ours already, so please look at all our car won't smoke tires out there in the middle. We saw what he had there. It was a little too much, and like I say, we don't quite have that much in ours right now. See what it does.
He mentioned not on the show, 19 heading into this round.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going to stay there, quite frankly. Let's take a look at the leaderboard. John Force with a new track record at 482, and he tapped the old one by about 5/100ths of a second, which he owned, by the way. Ron Capps in the number 2 spot. Whit Bazemore, number 3. You saw Jerry Tolliver with a good, strong number 4 slot. And there's positions 9 through 16. The bump right now at 529 with Tim Wilkerson. Now, let's go back in super slow-mo, see if we can find out what happened to Frank.
Yeah, well, I want to explain to the viewers at home, the car's trying to lock the clutch up at this point. This is about half track or so, 3/4 track, and you see the tires start to come loose, and the blower belt comes off. The reason why the blower belt fell off the car is because the engine, once it starts to freewheel, it starts losing its, stuff starts happening in there, and it puts a lot of pressure on the blower belt. So when you see a blower belt come off and it's smoking the tires, it's not the blower belt's fault. It's the fact that the engine is over-revving and confusing the engine. Let's just say that.
I also noticed a couple of the supports on the rear deck had come loose. So the guys will probably, I'm sure, be checking that as well. Next pair coming out, we've got Johnny Gray and Jim Epler. And if you're saying, wait, what happened to Johnny's brand new body? Well, he lost it yesterday in an explosion and fire.
I want to point out too, Johnny Gray, that car in the left lane there was on a really good run. They had a internal breakage, and it caused just wreaked havoc. The engine exploded, and like you say, Marty, blew the body out. But it wasn't anything that they did. I was watching the numbers. It was every bit of about a 493 or 94. It's unfortunate some of the internal working parts sometimes in these nitro engines that make 6,000 horsepower just there's a lot of stress going on in there.
Well, to give you an idea, he's in the number 14 spot with that run at 521 at 216 miles an hour. That tells you how good the run was going right before he had the explosion.
Right, but the conditions were very similar to what they are now, so I'm sure the crew chief on that, Wayne Dupuy, will go back and try to set the car to duplicate what they were doing yesterday. Like I said, same conditions as we have now. The sun's on the track, probably about 120-degree track temperature.
You're looking at Jim Epler's car creep forward towards the line. Epler in the number 13 qualified spot at a 5:12.
You know, unlike the pro stock cars we saw earlier, you're going to see these funny cars have to really slide the clutches down course because when the sun's on the track, it loosens things up. Johnny has the cylinder out.
And Jim Epler streaks to a 5:04. That's going to move him up on the order to the number 10 position. Johnny Gray at 5:19 stays in the number 14 spot. Dave Reef.
Well, we just saw a couple of funny cars get down this racetrack, but in Top Fuel, it was a bit of a struggle. So, Ed, as we now move on to funny car, how do you guys approach this, and how's it going to compare to what we just saw in the Top Fuel round?
Well, the Top Fuel cars obviously have got more wing. You know, they've got better weight transfer at the start. So it's more critical for a funny car early on in the racetrack on a hot track. So really, you can't relate a whole lot between the two. So I really don't pay a whole lot of attention to what the drags are doing. It means more to me what the first funny cars do.
So tell me then how you approach. You've got one driver on the outside. Now you've got one driver in second. What are you planning?
Well, we're going to be fairly aggressive with both cars. I mean, we need to know what we can do to get down this racetrack. Yeah, we need to get Tommy's car in, but I think we can.
All right, thanks, Ace and Dave. And now the body comes down on the FMTV machine of Bob Gilbertson. He's outside looking in right now. 2 times he has not been able to get down this racetrack.
I was talking to Paul Smith, and he's over there scratching his head. They have the 5-disc clutch. That's been one of the last teams to go from a 4-disc clutch to a 5-disc clutch, which is pretty much standard of the industry in nitro cars. He's just having a little trouble getting that figured out at this point in time.
There is Scotty Cannon in the number 13 qualified position at a 5:11. Let's go back to Gilbertson for a second because they were having some success with the 4-disc clutch. Why make the change at this stage?
Well, I asked the same question of Paul Smith, and they were barely getting away with that. What happens with a 4-disc clutch with these four discs in there, they build up so much heat. It was doing what you call kerplunking, meaning it was when they tried to lock the clutch up on the car, it would have so much heat that they would literally weld themselves together, and it would create some tire spin down there. So even though they had some success with it, they knew the writing was on the wall. It's a better part. Bob Brooks at AFT, the owner, one of the major clutch manufacturers of these cars, is helping Paul Smith, who's the crew chief. There's Paul right there on the Gilbertson car. So they hope the learning curve is not going to be very steep, that they can figure it out, hopefully for them this weekend.
So it's like the old adage, every now and then you got to take 1 step back to take 2 steps forward.
That's exactly right. And like I said, a guy like Bob Brooks, who you saw earlier, crew chief for Tony Bartone, knows what he's doing. So it's just a matter of setting up the car and seeing results.
Gilbertson gets down the track in a 4.97 at 299 miles an hour, moves him into the number 7 spot. A 5:01 for Scotty Cannon leaves him in the number 9 position. So Bob Gilbertson, after being outside, is outside no more. Stay with us. More funny car action here. 3rd round qualifying at Memphis at the AutoZone Nationals. We're coming right back.
Honey, if you're watching this, I've gotten a Suzuki King Quad during Quad Fair, and I won't be back for a while. Don't worry about me, I'll be fine. The deal was too good to pass up. I had my choice of a free Warner Super Winch or $300 of free accessories. They also offered low monthly payments or low APRs. How could I say no? I'll miss you. Could you feed the dog?
Stop by your local Suzuki dealer today for great Quad Fair deals.
Back on the track, Big Daddy Ungarland, and you can see him like never before in real big. Fast and furious action from Big Daddy's own personal film library. Join Big Daddy on a trip through the glory days of drag racing with rare glimpses behind the scenes, incredible speed, and awesome close calls. Real Big is hosted by Big Daddy himself and is a must-have for any racing fan.
If you like it fast and furious, you'll love these videos.
Call 1-800-865-7700 right now to order. That's 1-800-865-7700.
Today, ESPN Classic brings you Bonds, Barry Bonds. He's shaken things up.
Number 500!
And stirred up excitement. Now, ESPN Classic delivers a whole day of the games, hits, catches, and steals that put Bonds in the record books. Plus, a classic conversation with the man himself.
That's what I played for my whole life, just try to win the World Series.
Barry Bonds Bonanza, all day today, only on ESPN Classic. To get ESPN Classic, call 1-800-CLASSIC now.
Don't forget tonight on ESPN at 5:45 Eastern Time. It'll be Virginia versus number 18 Clemson. On ESPN at 7:45 p.m. Eastern Time. It's Auburn versus Syracuse. College football Saturday, getting back into action. And for more, log on to ESPN.com. Now, as we're waiting for the engines to come to life, it will be Vinny Arcady and Dale Creasy Jr. And Vinny's on that bump spot right now in the number 16 position at a 5:27. And Dale Creasy will be in the left lane this time, the one on the right side of your shot. He's 6:22. While we've got a moment here, let's get a chance to talk to Whit Bazemore while the engines just come to life. Whit, you back there?
Hang on a minute, Marty. We've got to turn the volume up so I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. I'll tell you what, we'll do the burnout. That'll give a chance for all the noise to go away, and then we'll get a chance to catch up with you.
Okay, great.
So the bodies come down. As they say, timing is everything. And there's Vinny Arcady. This is his third race of 2001. He's attempted to qualify. He did not make the show at Columbus or St. Louis this year. So far, his best run, that 5:27. And now that Dale Creasy has done his burnout, let's go back and catch up with Whit Bazemore. Whit, the 4:88 that you guys ran last night. Lee Beard said afterwards to the crowd here, you guys left some on the table.
Well, we definitely did, but, you know, you've got to realize going into last run last night, the Smatco Tools team, we weren't really qualified. We had a small problem in the first run, so, you know, we had to change our priorities and, you know, from trying to be #1 qualifier to just being in the show. And the fact that we ran 88 so soft and back down was really a surprise. It's good.
I've got to ask you about the body because you guys keep it shrouded. You guys have had to make changes. NHRA has said that it will not qualify for the year 2002, although it is legal for the remainder of this year. Is it really that much of an extra help, or is it more just a mental game you guys are playing with everybody?
Well, it's hard to say. You know, the body, we ran awfully well with our other body, the Iron Eagle body, so it's hard to say at this point. But, you know, we went through the rules the way NHRA wanted us to make that body legal. We submitted the drawings, and, you know, and we're following the rules, and that's the way it is, and it's certainly a help to us right now.
You're doing well on the diplomacy end. We might put you into with governments. Let's go out on the track. Thanks, Whit. We'll let you get back to work. Here's Vinny Arcady and Dale Creasy. Wow, all crossed up in that left-hand lane. Dale Creasy was looking at the wall. And look at a 5:03 for Arcady. Vinny steps up his program to the number 11 spot, and I think for Vinny that might be a career best. In fact,
for sure it's a career best.
Yeah, it is. It is a career best. Let's go to Dave Reef.
I can resound that as well. But you did see Dale Creasy over in that left lane smoke the tires a bit. We've seen some of the other cars, and Marty and Cruz, you've hit it on the head. It's about track temperature right now. And as we walk out, with the help of my cameraman, Matt Eilis, we do have a track temperature gun, and we can tell you that down here on the starting line, temperature's climbing. It's 114 out here, but if you go up to where the tire marks at the starting line where the cars leave, that track temperature rises a little bit. Gets upwards of 118, 117, somewhere in that ball field. As you can see, it climbs once you start moving up.
Thank you, Dave.
I had radar going there, Marty, because I said it was 120 degrees. I was just kind of guessing, but you know, usually when the temperature's up about 80 or so degrees, and like he says, the cars start making burnouts, it gets up there right about 120 degrees.
So the next pair of engines come to life. It'll be Bruce Sarver and Del Worsham. And if I told you that both of these guys were not in the show, would you believe me? Well, you better, because they are not in the field. The best either has run has been a 6 flat by Sarver. Worsham ran a 6.02. But both these cars are capable of laying down some big numbers.
Yeah, the Bruce Sarver car, the black Pontiac there on the left lane there, I spoke with their crew chief, Richard Hogan, and the first run they had break. It's something that never breaks. The blower studs that actually sheared off on the blower, and the blower lifted off, lost all of its boost, and here they are going to try to make an attempt. Last night they smoked the tires, so that was the run that they really needed. So now they find themselves, not in the field here. But as we've seen with the cars ahead of them, Marty, the track is going to be there for them. They can't go out there and get crazy around 480s, but this track will hold a solid 490.
Well, you see the Amula.com car there with a definite patriotic paint scheme. They are promoting the American Red Cross this week. Amula said, let's do this. It's the right thing to do. They're also going to make a die-cast model of this car with all the net proceeds. I mean, 100% net proceeds going to the American Red Cross. There's Chuck Worsham bringing Sundell to the line. Smoke for Sarver. He runs a 5.10 and Worsham runs a 5.06. Sarver's not going to make the show. You got to do better than a 5.08, but Worsham's in a 5.06, and I'm sure he's not real happy with that. Let's go to Dave Reef.
Richard Hogan not very happy as well. It's down to nail-biting time. How do you approach this last session? And I guess what you see from that run that maybe you can adjust the tune-up for this last pass?
Well, to change over for the Red Cross paint scheme for this weekend, we had to change bodies, and that's only the third run on that body, so we're taking a chance that we can make it work.
How much different is it, and where does the problem lie with that body?
It's never been down the track before. We don't know.
Interesting.
Dave, has it done any wind tunnel tests? I mean, is it anything like it?
Actually, that body may have been in the wind tunnel. I was privy to go to a test in Michigan a few months ago, and I'm pretty sure that is the body that sat upstairs. And as Richard said, I know it hasn't been down this racetrack. They knew it was a tunable body, but until they actually got it in a race day setup like it's been this weekend, they don't know.
Well, it is going to be interesting to find out what happens as they're going to go down to their final attempt to make this field. As you can see, everybody in the patriotic spirit here at Memphis Motorsports Park. Stay with us. When we come back, we've still got more third round qualifying action in Funny Car.
Great parts for these vehicles and yours. That's the Mopar difference.
This is hands down my favorite place to catch a movie. Nice, comfy seats, and it's got great RCA digital technology.
You know what I like best, Bing?
What?
I never have to get up to get popcorn.
Start your home theater with RCA Direct TV from Radio Shack for just $49.99 and get over 225 channels. Radio Shack. You've got questions. We've got answers.
Like a lot of organizations, ESPN was having trouble with their carpet. So they had me install a more natural surface. This grass we install is the best. It's a good Bermuda.
No hot water on that, okay?
Yeah, that'll set the sting.
It lays down very, very pretty.
Still to come on SportsCenter the rest of the night in the NBA.
Wherever you are, I mean, there's nothing more beautiful than grass.
Don't forget to join RPM today, tomorrow for 30 minutes of racing news, and then tomorrow night, RPM Tonight, will recap all the weekend's racing activity. That's at 11 a.m. Eastern Time and 11 p.m. Eastern Time. For more, log on to ESPN.com. And back here with Cruz Pedregon, Bill Stevens, Dave Reef, I'm Marty Reed. We're glad you could be with us. You're looking at Dean Scusa now, and he is on the bubble with the Mopar Dodge at a 5.08. He came awfully close to the wall last night, Cruz.
Well, the handling problems continue for Scusa. You know, he's had some problems there with handling the car there, and you know, it can hurt the elapsed time. Uh-oh, there's a wow. That's a burnout there. It looks like it dried the tires up there. Like maybe there wasn't enough water in the area there. These cars really require that little bit of water to get the tires going. But what happens there is there's not enough power to get the car going, because what happens, there's a throttle stop on the throttle there on Tommy Johnson's car there, but it just didn't work. It shouldn't affect the run. It's nice to have a burnout, but it might not affect it.
Let's quickly go to the far end, Bill.
Just a fabulous paint job on the emula.com funny car driven by Bruce Sarver, but performance-wise, man, you guys are going backwards.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is there. It felt pretty good about the half track, and it started smoking the tires, but you know, we got another run. We're doing this for you know, what happened in World Trade Center, Pentagon, and the airplane crash. You know, it's the least we can do right now. Got to thank my sponsors too that let us do this. You know, those big corporate guys, the Emula Macro Tools, Pontiac, Pennzoil, and Negley Electric. They're all there, and they're supporting this too.
They're coming off a disappointing weekend in Indy. Remember, they only qualified 13th there and went a couple of rounds.
A smoke at the far end for Tommy Johnson. He runs a 497, moves to the number 7 position at 294, and Dean Scusa with a 498 at 301, and that puts Del Worsham on the bubble at a 506. So 2 good runs there, Cruz, of answers that both those teams needed.
Yeah, they're both actually. Tommy's car was smoking the tires quite a bit, but as you heard Ed McCullough talk about, they were going to keep it aggressive, and that's a good run in the heat there. You saw the burnout problem didn't really affect, didn't seem to affect Tommy Johnson. And for Dean Scusa, it looked like it was nice and straight. They'll be plenty happy with those runs, both guys.
Well, and remember, TJ is coming off what he said himself is his most disappointing day ever in drag racing, when he went out first round at Indianapolis after having such a great qualifying effort all weekend long.
Yeah, I can feel for them. They were my favorites going after what they did there in qualifying there. They were absolutely the best car, but you know, this drag racing, these cars have so much horsepower. They're so temperamental. One little 97 little mistake there, and you can be out first round like Tommy was.
Well, and he was talking about how hard it was to get everybody's spirits back up, especially on top of what everything else has happened around the country. But it looks like, he said, we'll take it one step at a time, and it looks like they took that first step right now. Next up, you're looking at Tim Wilkerson. He's outside looking in. This is his 12th event of the year. He's only gotten down the track at a 5:29. And Johnny Lawson is also not qualified over in that right-hand lane. He's in the number 17 slot. Let's go to the far end, Bill.
Hey, you. By 0.03 of a second, the quickest run of the session so far.
Yeah, it's a pretty good run for considering we didn't have a burnout that time, you know. We had a big blower explosion last night, threw the rods out on fire, and the guys worked all night. The Skull Blue guys really put in some long hours last night and early this morning, and I think the throttle stop wasn't adjusted right and didn't have enough RPMs to do a burnout. So needless to say, I was a little worried when I hit the throttle. I held the brake for just a little bit, make sure we get it going.
You're allowed that.
The experience of the driver played a key role there.
Yeah, it did. What I liked about what Tommy did, he didn't try to stay after it and do. Once he figured it wasn't going to turn the tire, he backed off, because you don't want to shave too much clutch off it. I've seen guys chasing it, trying to do a burnout, but he did a good job there.
Body comes down on Johnny Lawson's machine. His 14th event of 2001. You see Mark Oswald. There he is, moving Johnny into position.
Now Wilkerson, the Levi Ray and Shoot car there, had a really good run going yesterday, but had a header fall off last night's run. So Tim Wilkerson is going to try to get it from A to B and get in the field. That's a very good car. Not going to happen.
Boy, up in smoke for Tim Wilkerson, and a 5:14. Johnny Lawson also, I mean, Johnny's car just looked like it never, ever took off.
Yeah, that car continues to have problems over there. The equipment is there. They have definite equipment. They're just not turning the knobs the right way. And for Tim Wilkerson, they just had a little too much clutch out there where they try to lock the clutches up on these cars. Just track didn't want to hear about it.
So as they head towards Bill Stevens' neck of the woods at the far end of the track, we're going to take a commercial break as we are at Memphis Motorsports Park at Memphis, Tennessee, at the 14th running of the AutoZone Nationals, and that is Gary Scelzi's team working back in the Top Fuel pits. Their final round still to come.
This crap. You know that Nike shoes, Apple computer, and even HROS Pro, they've all used government money programs to help their success, and you can too. The government has over 15,000 programs I put in this book to help you get a better job, get an education, or start your own business. Those who know about the programs are the ones that get the money.
I was able to get monies to buy equipment for my business and also a microloan.
The government gave me money to live on for 6 months while I started my own business.
I want every taxpayer to know that you can get $100,000 to open up a coffee shop, $15,000 to write a novel, $9,000 to take a computer course, or get a GED or a PhD.
If I could get $15,000 to go back to school, any woman could do it.
Doing what you really want to do in life is like being on vacation every single day, and I'll show you how to get the government to pay for it.
Call 1-800-553-9999 for only $37.95. Money back if not completely satisfied.
Tragedies have occurred and America is in mourning. The long period of uncertainty and recovery awaits us all. The American Red Cross is providing life-saving assistance, including precious blood, food, shelter, and grief counseling. We honor our heroic relief workers, victims, and their families. Please call 1-800-GIVE-LIFE to donate blood, or 1-800-HELP-NOW to offer financial support. Together, we can save a life.
Looking high in the sky, normally we would be saying hello to the Sanyo lightship, but of course, as everyone knows, the FAA has grounded all the airships, so we send our best to everyone in the Sanyo organization. We miss you guys. We know that you wanted to be here, and that's about the highest shot that we have. That's on top of a tower here at the track. Back down on the track, Chuck Etchells backing up after his burnout. He's in the number 10 spot. There's Al Hoffman. Jim Dunn's Moon Eyes car is in the number 12 slot right now.
Yeah, I was talking to Jim Dunn earlier, and he was halfway. Actually, he was in Indianapolis on his way. He drives the truck, and he actually turned around, you know, with all the news and all the information with NHRA postponing the race down there in Pennsylvania, Reading, Pennsylvania. So big Jim Dunn is definitely logging up the miles there, but he has a race car that's in a little bit of a slump right now. I'm sure Al Hoffman is a little nervous in there because they're not in the field yet, and actually they are in the field. They're number 12 right now, but that 502 may not hold, Marty. As the session gets better and the track, people start to figure out this racetrack, you might see the bump spot be about a 502. So I'm sure for the Moon Eyes people there, as well as for Chuck Etzel, they want to get in the field, maybe try to run 5 flat or better.
Both cars up in smoke. It almost looked like synchronized swimming for a second, but as they both light the tires almost at the exact instant. Let's go to Dave Reef.
Get a chance to talk with Terry Manzer if we can, who's made his way out on the other side of the starting line to take a look at some of the chatter marks. It's an awful interesting look up here. What can you tell us about these chatter marks?
I think actually the track's pretty good right here. We're trying to be soft enough to get through the middle, and we end up shaking here because we're not aggressive enough.
So what do you do when you go back now and make some adjustments? How do you tune it up or tune it down, rather?
You just got to make the car leave harder, but be soft in the middle.
And that's why they get the big bucks. I wouldn't even begin to know how to do that.
Let's go back and take a look at Chuck Etchells in super slow-mo, see if we can see what happened.
Well, if you listen to Terry, he did the opposite of what Ed McCullough was talking about. You see the chatter, that's tire shake. What's happening is the car doesn't have enough power to grow the Goodyears and grow and get them up spinning. And there, Chuck, the car's getting all wacky there. But, you know, if you listen to Ed McCullough's theory, you heard him earlier, we're going to be aggressive because the best part of the racetrack is on the starting line. So the big buck winner there was Ed McCullough because he was able to see that ahead of Terry Manzer. In that case there, you saw one car that went down there and the other car that didn't go down the track.
And now you see the next pair, Tony Pedregon. John Nedlin, crew chief, gives him the signal to bring it on through the water box. He'll be over in the right-hand lane. And he'll be up against his teammate, Gary Densham. You're saying, wait a minute, that's not Gary's normal AAA Southern California body. And the reason is the old body is like 10 pounds gets heavier, and they wanted to lighten the load. Let's go to Bill Stevens.
I'm with Al Hoffman, a former winner here in Memphis. And, you know, Big Al, with this hot racetrack and tricky conditions, a guy with your kind of experience, you could actually take some people out tomorrow to get the car in the field.
Well, if we stay in the field, yeah, it's a little tricky right now. Car left really hard that time, and it shook the tires and smoked them, but I think we'll be okay tomorrow.
John Force thinks he is probably the best driver out there in the class.
Yeah, he was rating it, and he said the experience counts for everything. He said Chuck Etchell, Al Hoffman. I mean, he was definitely going for the guys that had the most experience.
That's a great appreciation for that in these cars. You know, we're only in these cars for 5 seconds. See the heat waves, a little bit of waviness there on the track there. But you know, seat time is what it's all about in these cars. And you're looking at Gary Densham here driving what looks like John, like you say, it's John Force's body on there. But Gary is one of the guys that you can put in that category with Al Hoffman and Chuck Etchell as far as a lot of runs down a quarter mile. There's Tony there. For a young guy, Tony has a lot of runs down a quarter mile. Racing for Johnson since 1996.
Tony qualified number 5, Gary in the number 6 slot. And both of them smoked the tires, and Tony a little quicker than Gary. So it'll be interesting to see what Austin Coyle does with John's car, because he's right back there at the starting line looking at both of them. So they'll stay 5th and 6th. Let's go to Super Slow-Mo.
See if I can decipher whether it was not enough power or too much power. You see Gary's car takes a set, starts to wiggle around there. Looks like it's starting to shake in the tires. Yeah, that looks like it's just down a little bit on power. Some of these guys can get themselves in trouble by not having enough horsepower, and that looks like what happened to Gary Densham.
Well, our next pair up will be Whit Bazemore. They said they left a lot on the table last night. We'll find out if they're going to leave any on the table today, as he'll be up in our next pair along with Jerry Tolliver. But first, we're going to take a commercial break. And again, everywhere you look here at Memphis Motorsports Park, you see American flags and people. Look at this. This is continuing as we speak. Everybody trying to find a little piece to put their name and send their best to everyone involved. Stay with us.
You've closed on your new home. Everything's perfect.
What?
Okay, not everything.
I got it. Don't worry about it, honey.
You could always add more storage space. Or fix that jammed door jamb.
Honey, you okay?
Fine.
After all, new homes have their share of
Who's your hero now?
unexpected surprises. Life's an ongoing project. Ace.
So it all comes down to this. In the waning seconds, a field goal will decide it all. There's the snap. Good hold. The kick is up. It appears to be long enough. And it splits the uprights right down the middle. Oh, that's as pretty as it gets. An absolutely perfect ending to a perfect day.
With full-time all-wheel drive, the new Subaru WRX stays glued to the road. With a turbocharged 227 horsepower boxer engine, you'll swear you're flying. That's the beauty of Subaru all-wheel drive.
College football Saturday. Virginia heads to Clemson, where Heisman hopeful Woodrow Dantzler powers the Tigers' big play offense. Virginia, Clemson, 5:45 today on ESPN2.
Don't forget to join Bill Stevens along with Bob Fry for all the stories inside drag racing. It's NHRA Heat, Thursday at 5:30 Eastern Time. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Engines come to life. Gary Tolliver in the WWF camp. And they really ran a nice pass last night, a 489, and breathing a big sigh of relief. This team has probably had the most monumental struggle based on where they finished up last year.
Yeah, the big sigh of relief is going to come on what they do here. That's the big question I have in my mind. You know, you hear us talking about it's one thing to make a good run when the conditions are nice and cool and there's plenty of traction. It's another thing to do it when it's hotter and you see a lot of cars in front of you smoking the tires. Actually, Marty, actually for both cars here, you know, you have two cars that ran a 488 there for that Madco car of Bazemore. You had a 489 for Jerry Tolliver. Hey, those are good runs. But like we say again, let's see what they can do here. The sign of a really solid team that has their act together is a team that can bounce back on the conditions like this and make a respectable run. Right now, anything in the 4-second range, 499.9 would be a very representative, respectable run under these conditions.
And you heard us talk about the new body, debuted in Indianapolis. There it is with the extended spill plates in the back. And also they've widened the front hood area out to the A-pillar posts. I know we're talking a little technical here on you, but basically out to the edge of the window. You see right up on the edge of the car. And as the body comes up, the NHRA did make them take some of the aluminum that they had underneath here that was diffusing some of the air back out through the flaps at the rear of the car. They made them take that out. But other than that, what do you think about this car? Is this more smoke and mirrors, or is it something that's really good?
Well, you know, it's probably more smoke and mirrors. Man, this is a good running car. It has been all year. The fact that they ran that 475 at 325 miles an hour, and the fact that they've done a good job. They've won a couple of races recently. Puts more of the spotlight on that race car and some of the things that it has on it. But some of the teams that know better are going to focus on what they have to do and not worry about what Bazemore or Lee Beard's going to do to that car.
Well, Bazemore gets crossed up and ends up at a 5:28 as he gets out of it. Tolliver goes across the line at a 5:03, so neither one gets much help. Dave?
Well, indeed, to follow up on what you're saying, the car just one piece of the equation for Lee Beard, who can't like what he saw too much there. What'd you see that you can put a finger on now?
Well, we were going for it here in the heat. These are the conditions that you have to race under. And it looked like the car was making an awful good run there to half track. It's a little bit stout for the other end, so we'll come back and work on that. And hopefully this afternoon we'll put together what we're looking for race day.
Number one, possibly?
Well, I don't know about that.
Yeah. I don't know about that either. A 482 laid down last night in the cool temperatures by John Force. That would be pretty hard to top, but we've seen this car and team pull off some magic before. Right now, we've still got one more pair to go. In fact, we'll be seeing John Force next up. And there he is.
But if you listen to Lee Beard, he has his mind where it needs to be as a crew chief. He's looking at the race. You know, you could have the low ETs, the number one qualifier, but he has an understanding that, hey, there's a points battle here that we're looking at, and really the race conditions is what they're looking at to improve, and not so much. He knows that it's going to be hotter out there, so that we can't deal with. I don't think he can run a 482, and I think he believes that too.
Well, in the championship chase, we figured it out. In fact, thanks to Dave Densmore, he did all the math. I must give him credit. Bazemore has to pick up an average of 41 points. That's just over 2 rounds of racing on Force at every remaining event to be able to win the championship. That's a tall order.
Without a doubt, Force has to cooperate with him. Force has to go out early, but anything's possible. You know, it's there's 6 more. There's a lot of races left.
Well, what makes it possible is that man right there, John Force, went out 2 of the last 3 races in the first round. So he has opened the door, and he's given Bazemore a little taste of life as we're getting ready for Austin Coyle and Bernie Federley to bring it to life. And as he brings 6,000 horses to song, let's go to the far end. Bill?
Well, it looked like you just loaded that baby up and wanted to see what that racetrack would give you.
Yeah, well, we did, and I tell you what, this Matco 2's Pontiac, it was running pretty well until just spun the tire down track, and that was our game plan, you know, keep it in the groove, and if it spins the tire at all, just shut it off, because no need in destroying anything right today. But I tell you, just the early part of this track is awfully good, and I think we've got something for tomorrow. You know, we've got one more run today. Whether or not I don't know, but we'll try to make a run for it.
Probably won't go for low. You'll just have a race day tune-up in it the last session.
Well, it's hard to say. Knowing Lee Beard, I think we'll go for low. Even if we suddenly had 110-degree weather, we'd still go for low. They're animals.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see which tune-up we do see in 4th round. There's Ron Capps in the Skull Green Racing Camaro in the number 2 spot at a 485. And he laid that down last night, as did John Force when he stopped the clock at 482. John will be over in the right-hand lane. Ron on the left side.
I still maintain that anything in the 4-second range right now would be considered a good run, and for both teams, you know, these are cars that go a lot of rounds, and usually you find them in the second semifinals and go to the final. So these are good, obviously good solid cars that know how to read the racetrack. But again, like the 2 cars in front of them, what are they going to do with the racetrack now? Like I said, you can see 2 side-by-side 4-second runs here.
If Force ends up holding on to this number 1 spot, it would be his 105th of his career. Remember, this is the final run of 3rd round. We've still got one more full session to go. Caps goes up in smoke. And Force goes to a 494 at 303. And again, he's letting everybody know maybe this hot rod is back in stride. Let's go to Dave Reef.
Austin Coyle, it was certainly our contention that anything in the 490s right now is pretty good. You share that same opinion?
Well, I think that was pretty good. You know, it's pretty hot out here right now and slick, and we're happy with that.
Did you get really aggressive with it? Did you leave any crumbs, do you think, or are you pretty happy?
Well, I think that was, you know, what we needed to find out, and the next run we can see what we can get away with.
494, the quickest of the round, and that's always where you want to be, no matter what the temperature. And so everybody else will be going back and gauging that performance as we go into the final round of qualifying action. As let's take a look at the leaderboard, and we can show you that John with the 482 by 3/100ths over Ron Capps. Whit Bazemore, number 3. Jerry Tolliver, Tony Pedregon, Gary Densham, Tommy Johnson, and Bob Gilbertson moved into that number 8 spot during this 3rd round of qualifying. Then it's Dean Scusa all the way down from Etchells, Cannon, Hoffman, Arcady, Pedregon, Epler, and Del Worsham on the bubble at 506. Who's not in the show? John Lawson, Bruce Sarver, Tim Wilkerson, Johnny Gray, Dale Creasy. But remember, they've each got 1 shot left. And there is John climbing out of the cockpit, and he'll get the helmet off, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk to him at the far end with Bill Stevens. And right now, if you're everybody else, as you're getting ready for this final round cruise, what are you thinking?
Well, just read the track, pay attention to what the track's doing, and the track's just not going to yield 480s. You might as well forget it. And if you can do that, just run a 490 something, you'll be fine.
Let's go to Bill.
John Force, low ET for the round in these absolutely ferocious conditions, man. Nothing much wrong with that.
We weren't really counting on last night's run to impress anybody. Just the fact makes you feel good, but you got to get out here and run in the heat. The pretty boy Cap's there, charming himself out. But,
your boy wonder over there.
Yeah, you got to kind of just look at the heat and see what you can do. And she was pretty much on the edge right there. She's driving all over.
Dr. Ron Capps, after what your teammate did this session, we expect a little bit better out of Team Green. What happened?
Well, you know, that's the advantage of having 2 cars. Like Force, you know, he started a couple years ago. It's the way to go. And seeing TJ's car go down, we knew we were deep in the show. We were number 2, and we need to get ready for tomorrow. Sunday's the big day, and it's cool. You get both school cars up there, but you're racing Force, so it could be qualifying. It doesn't matter. But you get up there, and he's listening to me. But you get up and you stab the throttle. You tell. It could be Thursday. I try to leave on this guy.
The defending event champion and the 3-time Memphis winner, John Force, here, gearing up for tomorrow.
Thanks, Bill. As we get ready to go to commercial break, we'll be back with a lot more. In fact, we've got bonus coverage, 3rd round pro stock action when we come back. And we want to thank the Kart FedEx Championship Series because they made that possible by finishing early. Stay with us.
With the turmoil of the 60s fading away, the 70s was a time to mellow out. Now, TV Music for You brings you Smooth 70s, a 34-song collection of the greatest easy listening classics of our time.
If I could save time in a bottle, please come to Boston for the springtime. But it was just my imagination once again. Ooh, I hear laughter in the rain.
70s features the best easy listening hits and top artists of a great decade of music.
So I sing you to sleep after the loving. And when we get behind closed doors, she ran calling wildfire. Summer breeze makes me feel fine. I felt the beat of my mind go drifting into time.
Smooth 70s on 2 cassettes or 2 CDs.
I like tweeting.
Call this toll-free number now for Smooth 70s. 2 cassettes $19.98, 2 CDs $26.98, plus $5.50 shipping. Have your credit card ready and call now.
And with the CART FedEx Championship race ending early, we're going to have some bonus coverage. Third round of Pro Stock. We've got the last 5 pairs. And doing the burnouts right now, coming to the line, will be Mark Powick and Mike Edwards. Edwards over in the right lane. Of course, that's always driver's right, driver's left. Mark Powick in the lane closest to you, the left lane.
Both cars struggled a little bit last night's qualifying attempt. Mark Powick, as you know, has been struggling after leading the points early in the year. Has qualified with a 693, looking to improve here. And like we always say, Marty, the night session seems to be the session that you really want to get in and make a good run, because obviously with the temperature on the track now, the teams are going to have to really set their cars up differently to try to get in the field a little more solidly. In the case of Mike Edwards, not even in the field. He's number 18 with a 694.
And as they bring the cars to the line, you mentioned Powick. We showed a laundry list a few races back of the number of things that he has changed and tried. It literally filled the screen. They feel like they've made some gains, but yet you're right. Right now he's in that number 12 spot and hoping to step it up just a touch right here. A 699 is going to be no help for Mark Powick, and the 691 for Mike Edwards. Wow, he was late off the line, but his patience paid off as he moved into the number 3 spot at 199 miles an hour, bumping Warren Johnson down to the number 4 position. Next pair coming to the line, there's Tommy Hammonds, Crestview, Florida. Tommy, you got to get ready to go back to play NBA basketball with the Minnesota Timberwolves. Right now in the number 10 spot at a 692, and you're looking at Ray Franks over in the right-hand lane from New Carlisle, Ohio. He's outside looking in, 694 with an 8. He's missing the field by 1/1000th of a second.
You know, and these teams just watch Mike Edwards run that 691, which is tells you that the racetrack is still in pretty good shape, even though we have the direct sun on it. It just tells you it's a credit to the setup that they made on the cars, but also that the traction is available for these cars to try to get in the field if you're not already, and make a good run.
Well, what was also interesting was Edward was over in that right lane, and some of the guys have been saying there's a few bumps down there that destabilize the Pro Stock cars especially.
You know, the advantage of these onboard data acquisition systems, you can actually go back and see where the bumps are, and what a lot of these teams will do, particularly with the Pro Stock, they can shift their cars and hopefully they can try to glide over the bumps.
And a 691 for Tom Hammonds is going to step his program up. Tommy moves into the number 4 position just behind Mike Edwards. Unfortunately for Ray Franks, he is not going to make the field after running a 701, but he still has one more shot remaining. Now you're looking at Mark Osborne. The Team Mopar Dodge Neon. He'll be over in that left-hand lane. Qualified number 10 right now at a 692. There is KJ, Kurt Johnson, in the number 14 position at a 694 flat.
Talking to Mark Osborne's car owner and crew chief David Nickens yesterday, you know, and he was telling me that he and Alderman, the first run yesterday, they had the best back half numbers of any other car, meaning the last part of the racetrack, they covered that part of the quarter mile quicker than any other car. So they feel like here at Memphis Motorsports Park that the traction is really good down low. So the challenge for them to get these Dodges to hook a little harder and get a little bit better traction early so they can couple that latter half of the run and try to get the overall quarter mile time down to where they feel like we're comfortable.
Over in that far lane, the new paint scheme debut by Kurt, the Platinum Plus paint scheme on his machine back at Indianapolis. Kept him here and now moves into the beams and finds himself trying to step the program up a little bit. He's in the number 14 spot. It's not going to happen for KJ. But Mark Osborne, another 691 at 199 miles an hour. And Osborne moves to number 2 on the qualifying order, right behind Jim Yates, with Yates' prior run of 689, and Yates is still to come. You're looking at Robert Patrick Jr. He'll be over in the left-hand lane. He is now in the number 10 spot, being bumped down there by Osborne. He hit 692. There's Jake Coughlin Jr., and he is right now in the number 8 position. You can hear him backing him up on the radio. And as they continue to move Jeg back, we should point out that Jeg is now running an entirely home-built motor. I mean, this is totally out of the Coughlin Brothers shop, and it has performed very well so far.
Well, they definitely have confidence coming into this race with that engine program. Of course, it propelled their team, Jake's Pro Stock truck, to a U.S. Nationals win there with their engine. So, and you know, there's a lot of dyno tests, and unlike a nitro engine where you don't have any idea where the horsepower is, with the Pro Stocker you can dyno, so they know where they're at with the horsepower on these Pro Stock engines.
Well, those 3 691s that we've had back to back to back are the 3 quickest of this session, and that's what you always want to gauge yourself. The stripe, a 698 for both competitors. You can hear him talking on the radio, and it looked like Jeg got a little loose down at the starting line.
Yeah, I was looking at the 60-foot times. You know, Mark Osborne earlier had a 102, the quickest of the session so far, and that's the time it takes to travel from the dead stop to the 60-foot box out there on the quarter mile. And I just noticed Jeg had a .104, so he just didn't have it early on the run.
So that'll bring us to our final pair. You're looking at the professor, Warren Johnson. He'll be over in the right-hand lane in the number 6 spot. He qualified at a 692 over in the left-hand lane. As you look at WJ, open the door, let the smoke out as he backs the Goodrich service. Grand Am back towards the starting line. Leads the points championship over that man right there, Jim Yates, by 80 coming in. And Yates laid down a 689 yesterday in the first round, then backed it up last night with a 690. I mean, this hot rod's bad.
Yeah. Jim's really putting his money where his mouth is, and he really has a program going good for him right now. And, you know, with the addition of the Ricky Smith crew chief, he's going to be tough down the stretch. The key for he and Warren here to really is going to come down to the drivers. Right now, they're not racing each other per se. It's just a matter of getting the laps time down. But if I'm Warren Johnson, I'm definitely going to look over my shoulder and watch that Jim Yates car.
Well, stay with us because we had a chance to sit down with Jim Yates, and he'll tell us more about that Ricky Smith acquisition and on other subjects as well, like a championship.
60-foot for Jim Yates.
And a 688 at 198. Jim Yates has just lowered the mark a little bit more and made it a little more difficult for everybody. A 694 is not going to help Warren Johnson. Dave Reef.
And this is Bob Ingles, the man that builds the horsepower for Jim Yates 3 times now. Low ET #1. Wow.
It's kind of like a dream. I mean, this is what we've been working for.
It has been a work in progress. How satisfied are you with where the program's at right now based on what we've seen today?
Well, everything's coming together. The car, the engines, and everything, you know, you just couldn't ask for any more.
Congratulations. Solid showing so far.
Thank you very much.
All right. right, thanks, Dave. As Jim has made it to the far end of the track where Bill Stevens is standing by to get a chat with him, as he has got to be ecstatic right now, as boy, 3 runs in a row. You've basically thrown down the gauntlet to everybody.
Well, that's right. It's going to put the pressure on the competitors. And what I liked about that run there is the 60-foot time. It's all important to get these cars, 2,300-pound car, launched off the line there. And that's really a credit to their clutch program and their horsepower, how they're applying it to the racetrack.
Yeah, and we talk about a 1:01. That's 1.01 seconds. And then compare that with Jed Coughlin's time of a 1.04. Just 3/100ths difference, but a full 10th at the other end of the track. Let's go to Bill Stevens.
Hey, you just gave Warren Johnson a nice view of your trunklet, man. Wow.
I'm going to tell you, these guys have been working on this split fire Grand Am right here, and it is running really good right now. Bob Ingles took the motor back after Indy, worked on it, and Terry Adams and the crew's been doing a great job. I'm just impressed with the way it's run. I'm impressed myself right now.
And you ran the 89. You've been in both lanes so far. You've had no problem at all. They say the right lane's a little bumpy.
Well, the both lanes are a little bumpy out there, but you know, right now we've got a combination on this Grand Am. It makes you just go right down the middle of the track and put big numbers on the board. I'm just super impressed with it. I'm really happy right now. I can't wait till tomorrow.
We're impressed too.
Oh, he's still got one more round of qualifying to go, and who knows, he might even take it lower. Remember, the track record set last year in those super cool temperatures of 680 by Scott Jeffrey. I don't know if we'll get that close, but we'll try. Stay with us as we come back to Memphis Motorsports Park.
Split fire spark plugs, because performance is everything. Now just $249 after rebate.
All right, everybody, one more time. Pole shots.
Extreme.
McTwist.
Not extreme.
Quarter-mile straightaways.
Extreme.
Half pipes.
Extreme.
The NHRA Pro Stock Pontiac Grand Am, driven by Warren the Professor Johnson. Class is now in session.
Okay, Mr. Sullivan. Extreme or not extreme?
The 2001 Grand Am GT, Extreme Excitement by Pontiac.
Pep Boys salutes the spirit of America. For over 80 years, we've been proud to be a part of that spirit. Proud to have helped keep America moving. Now more than ever, you can count on us to keep you moving and help keep America's spirit strong.
Spare Thoughts with Jason Couch, professional bowler.
Okay, Jason. Nice and strong. Oh, I see Mr. Sevenpin didn't get the memo. Fine. I guess it's time for Yankee Doodle Dandy. And bye-bye.
The PBA Peoria Open, Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN.
Back here at Memphis Motorsports Park, don't forget that join us tomorrow, 3.5 hours of elimination round coverage right here. Early round action, 2 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN2, with final eliminations at 8:30 p.m. on ESPN2. And for more information, log on to ESPN.com. Now, if you're just tuning in, hello, everybody. Marty Reed, along with Cruz Pedregon, Bill Stevens, and Dave Reef. And the prior hour that you've been watching here at the AutoZone NHRA Nationals was recorded on tape. And hello, everybody. We are so proud also of our nation. But there are big developments going on in Pro Stock. That segment you just saw, our bonus coverage, courtesy of the kart race ending early, well, that was taped about 2 hours ago. But back in Jim Yates' pits, there is a big story developing. Let's go to Dave Reef.
Indeed, there is, Marty. You can see the tarp is on top of the peak antifreeze Pontiac Grand Am that Jim Yates drove to the #1 qualifying spot so far. It is under covers because it will not be driven in the 4th round. Shortly after talking to Bill Stevens, Jim started to complain of some problems. Dr. Jeremy Torsvide, on staff for the NHRA this weekend, was at the far end. Former drag racer yourself. What was the situation and what's going on?
Well, as you know, Jim complained of pain in his chest, and he thought it could be the HANDS device, and he also thought that he might be having some other kind of problem. I did an initial evaluation on him, and although his vital signs were stable, there were several signs and symptoms that warranted further evaluation. Our emergency medical team, we treated him at the scene with several medications and oxygen and transported him to the medical center, the Med Regional Medical Center, where he has now been admitted. His status for today is scrubbed, and I think that tomorrow's is highly questionable at this point, since they have admitted him to the hospital.
And that is absolutely crushing news. Remember, this is Jim Yates, who's second in points, just 80 behind Warren Johnson. Now, as far as the second car goes with Ricky Smith this weekend, that car will continue to be in competition, as Ricky's wife, Nancy, also a nurse, has joined Tony and Jim at the hospital, Marty.
Well, thanks, Dave. And we get another dose of reality where, you know, it's just this, you know Jim wants to race, and you know he wants to go after that championship, but right now everybody's thoughts are about Jim Yates. Forget about racing. And we'll get an update for you as soon as we can. We'll keep you posted on this story and think good thoughts for Jim Yates. We're going to take a commercial break and come back live as we are at the AutoZone Nationals in Memphis Motorsports Park. More action when we come back.
If you could choose any company to stand behind your installed home improvements, who would it be? Sears.
Sears vinyl siding, eaves, and overhang look as great today on this home as the day they were installed. But what's just as important here is what you don't see, and what you may never have to worry about again: cracking, flaking, and peeling paint that barely hides rotting wood, or scraped and dented aluminum panels. Imagine eliminating the need for yourself or anyone else to climb ladders, carry buckets of paint, or make messes scraping or sanding. Fact is, with Sears vinyl siding, eaves, and overhangs, the only maintenance you'll have to do on the exterior of your home again is wash it down with a garden hose.
Call 1-800-311-0889. If you call right now, you can get $375 off select vinyl siding. Call someone you can trust. Call Sears. With Sears Vinyl Siding, you can rest assured that your home's exterior is protected and virtually maintenance-free. Call 1-800-311-0889.
Today, ESPN Classic brings you Bonds, Barry Bonds. He's shaken things up. Number 500! And stirred up excitement. Now, ESPN Classic delivers a whole day of the games, hits, catches, and steals that put Bonds in the record books. Plus, a classic conversation with the man himself.
That's what I played for my whole life, just try to win the World Series.
Barry Bonds Bonanza, all day today, only on ESPN Classic. To get ESPN Classic, call 1-800-CLASSIC.
Today's ESPN Speed World event, qualifying for the AutoZone Nationals, is being brought to you by Suzuki, maker of innovative motorcycles and all-terrain vehicles, and by Carfax. They'll give you the real history on any used car. Carfax.com. Let's take a look at the leaderboard now in Pro Stock Truck qualifying. Right now, Mike Coughlin has been the man to beat, 7:42. That is a new track record by 4 100ths over Bob Pinella. His brother, John Coughlin, of course, if you remember, Mike won at Indianapolis. He's looking for 2 in a row. John's in the number 8 spot. Number 9 is Victor Cagnazzi, all the way down to Jerry Haas, who's on the bubble at a 7:52. And those not in the field, Wisnett, Perrin, Dale and Craig Eaton both, Richard Brown, Larry C., and on down to Sam Tompkins, a former Secret Service agent. As we get ready for our next pair, down on the starting line. That was Jeff Gracia over in the right lane. Scott Tidwell, looking at him right now, in the left lane. Again, it's always drivers right, drivers left as we're going down the track. Gracia is in the number 10 spot right now from Ontario, California at 7:48. Tidwell in the number 12 position. Neither one in jeopardy of being bumped out. But again, at this stage with final round qualifying crews, what these guys are looking for is how do they square up against everybody else in the division for tomorrow.
That's right, and that's always the case here, and particularly this last attempt to qualify, go down the track here. And if they can get quicker into the field, better, because the way the ladder system is set up, the further up the ladder you are, you have a little bit more breathing room, so to speak. For instance, the number 1 guy races the 16th, 2 races the 15th, so that's one motivation. And like you say, Marty, you want to size up how you fare in this particular session, given the atmospheric conditions, the weather, and the track and all that.
Tidwell's coming back after missing the first half of the 2001 season. He's got Grumpy Jenkins power, so he's got some horses under the hood. And in fact, Tidwell runs a 7:50, real close to his best of 7:49. Gracia runs a 7:56. Neither one will get any help, but they'll take that data back and get ready for tomorrow's final eliminations. Next up, Greg Stanfield. He's in the left lane in the number 11 spot right now at 7:48. Victor Cagnazzi in the number 9 position. He'll be over in the right lane.
Pro stock trucks are very similar to the cars in that the driver manually shifts the transmissions in these trucks. And we talked earlier about the bumps in the lanes. What I was trying to explain, I didn't quite get it all what I wanted to say there, but what happens is if there's a bump in the lane, you either want to shift your car or your truck before you hit the spot or ride it out and shift after, because every time you shift, it shocks the tires a little bit. So that's one of the adjustments that the driver can make from sitting in the cockpit.
Victor Cagnazzi comes to the line. His first year in Pro Stock Truck. Didn't race the first event at Pomona, then came out and has qualified for every event since with a best. He qualified second back in St. Louis. Greg Stanfield, one of the competitors in the championship hunt right now. Stanfield, a 7:47. That is quickest of the round so far today, and that is going to move him to the number 6 position. Victor Cagnazzi, 7:48, leaves him in the number 10 spot. Mike Dunn warming up his Top Fuel New York Yankees dragster. A lot more coming your way when we come back.
We gave it the power of 227 horses. We gave it the control of all-wheel drive. But the spirit of a 3-time World Rally champion? That it had to earn. Meet the turbocharged rally-bred Subaru WRX. That's the beauty of Subaru all-wheel drive.
A man started pounding on our back door. My children were home alone. He almost got in. My oldest daughter pushed the brakes panic button. The man stopped and ran away.
In a world you can't always trust, there's one name you can. For over 135 years, Brinks has been protecting people and their valuables around the world. Now, this same trusted name can protect your family.
Brinks introduces the Safe at Night sale. Call toll-free 1-877-6-BRINKS now. And Brinks will install this standard monitored system for only $99. Incredibly, just $99. But there's more. Brinks will also install a second keypad, a $125 value, absolutely free. But you must call 1-877-6-BRINKS now. When it comes to the finest in home security, there's only one, Brinks.
Toma el centro, el pase, la atrapó.
La NFL Dominical por ESPN, 7:30 p.m. hora del este en ESPN Deportes.
Back here at the AutoZone NHRA Nationals live, and normally we'd be saying hello to the Sanyo lightship, and the guys would be floating right up there in the sky, but of course the FAA has grounded everyone. So that is our highest camera point. We've got a lift at the top, and that's the view we can give you looking down on the track. And obviously it's not nearly as good as the lightship, but everybody's, shall we say, making adjustments. Back into Pro Stock Truck qualifying action. You're looking at a Todd Patterson right now, the number 4 qualifier in that red Dodge in a 747. He'll be alongside John Lingenfelter in the number 7 qualified spot. And remember, these guys are not racing each other. That's all tomorrow. Right now, you're just trying to find out how fast, how quick you can get from point A to point B.
But what I've noticed is the conditions out here are maintaining themselves pretty good. We've seen actually a lot of the Pro Stock cars and trucks improve their times or maintain, and that's not something we're grown accustomed to. Usually the Friday night session, we see the cars and trucks come out here and fall off 5 or 6 hundredths of a second. But we're seeing, and that's a credit to the racetrack, and like I say, it's not as hot, a little less humid than it was yesterday.
Gets out of it. And John Lingenfelter runs a 750 at 180 miles an hour. Will not help him. It'll leave him in the number 7 spot. Patterson will remain number 4. Now, notice the man at the top of the heap, Mike Coughlin. Well, the word is he's not running. What's going on, Dave?
Indeed, he's not. The defending Memphis champ, U.S. Nationals champion on the sideline.
The fans are of paramount concern. And between Saturday's Busch race and Sunday's Winston Cup event, the Dover Downs International Speedway is expecting over 200,000 spectators. Reporting from Dover, Delaware, I'm Mike Massaro, ESPN.
Shea Stadium has had many indelible baseball moments since it opened in 1964. Friday night, an indelible moment that happened before the game.
And we've got some other diamond gems from Friday. Friday's top plays are still ahead. Stay with us. You're watching SportsCenter.
Discover Card gets you on Game Day Challenge. Log on to ESPN.com, keyword Discover Card, and enter your predictions. Win the chance to appear on January 1st with the hosts of College Game Day, Fowler, Corso, and Herb Street at the Rose Bowl, and test your wits against the greatest minds in college football.
Who'd you expect? Bob Dole?
Follow Mark Martin and the Viagra racing team this season.
Get to your doctor for a checkup and find out if a free sample of Viagra is right for you.
And for more information right now, race over to Viagra.com.
Now, live football scores are only one free phone call away. Scores Live features scores direct from the stadiums, as well as injuries, weather, and trends on every game free on a recorded message at 1-800-966-9777. Scores Live provides everything a real football fan needs. Live scores and a lot more, completely free on a recorded message. That's 1-800-966-9777.
If you're going bald, here's good news. Rogaine, Propecia, and the latest advances in hair transplantation can restore your hair. But what's right for you? Now there's a free video that helps you decide. Call toll-free 1-888-900-HAIR for your free video from Medical Hair Restoration, the nation's leading medical group in the treatment of hair loss. That's toll-free 1-888-900-HAIR. Get the video and your hair back.
Two last place teams in Canada. Rockies and Expos. Bottom 9, Jose Jimenez can save the game for the Rockies, but Jet Bloom ruins that. Jose Vidro scores. We're tied 9-9. Top of the 11th, still 9-9. Bases loaded for Todd Helton. 1 out. RBI number 132 for Todd. Brings home Juan Pierre. The Rockies go on to win 10,510 on hand. After 24 years in baseball, Expo GM Jim Beatty says he's going to take a break from baseball, spend some time with his kids. He's been commuting from Dartmouth, New Hampshire, where his family is living, to Montreal. The only significance of this game is that D-Rays and Blue Jays rhymes. The Devils need to finish the year 11-4 to avoid their first 100-loss season.
Biggest home run of Mike Piazza's career? Very possibly. I'm just so happy I gave people something to cheer about, said the All-Star catcher. His contribution to the city's spirit and psyche with Friday's home run may have been easier to measure than the distance the ball traveled. Here's Charlie Steiner.
It was very touching to see the firefighters and policemen salute their fallen brothers and sisters. From that onset, I felt like we were just spectators, and it was just an honor and a privilege to be here.
It took a tragedy like this to hear my first 21-gun salute tonight, and I just remember running out to left field and picking up the shells and stuff from the 21-gun salute and putting them in my back pocket, just to keep them as a reminder.
It was a night that spanned the emotional spectrum that brought the Mets and Braves, who've had no love for one another over the years, together. And the city's most famous Yankee fan was most welcome at Shea Stadium.
It shows that all America is together. Even in baseball, when two arch rivals are going at each other, that we could come together and for the same cause. And plus, our mayor, who usually gets booed here at the stadium, got standing ovation, probably the loudest ovation of anybody.
The improbable Mets have now won 21 of their last 26 and have moved to within 4.5 games of Atlanta. But it was the sheer drama of the night that reminds us of how and why sports is so important to us, especially at a time like this.
I think it was the most important game that any of us have ever been a part of. You know, we played in the Subway Series last year, and I thought that there was no way that the emotions of any game could match what I